Hey, good morning. Chuck here with Apple Drains. Made a small video about Hydroblox, and it's actually a segment within another video, but I pulled that out to create its own video. So let's take a look at that. Also wanted to mention and advertise that we are going to do a premiere. If you don't know what the premiere is, it's kind of like going to the movies with your friend for the first time to see a first run movie. I think you'll get a notification, but if not, go ahead and click that little bell. You see there's like a little bell on the top of your screen. It's both on the laptop and on your phones as well. Click that, you'll get the notification. I'm not sure when I'm going to schedule it, either Friday evening or Saturday midday, and we watch it together. It's going to be a really great video. It's about NDS quick drain, a piece of pipe that's been in the ground over 5 years, and it's in a driveway and running over it. We're going to pull it out and take a look, see how well it held up. So what we've got here is a piece of Hydroblox. And again, what this is recycled plastic, and it's melted and poured into a mold, and it creates voids just like aggregate inside of it. Does it clog? Well, I think it would clog, of course, because once those aggregates got clogged with whatever, sand or clay, yeah, it'll back up. I found no application for this at all. It might work well on the athletic field. In other words, they drain athletic fields. Let's use the Philadelphia Eagles, and you can look all this stuff up, but under their field, every 5 yards on those hash marks that go down the field, they have strip drain. And their strip drain is similar to this. And this might work well there because it is very solid this direction. I mean, it's real solid this direction, not very solid. But it comes in 12-inch sections. They're 7 feet long, and like I said, here's the other piece of it. It broke in shipping, so it's brittle. If I hit it hard right here, it would break. But if you use it as strip drain on the athletic field, this would probably work pretty well because water does, get down through it. As water rises, it comes in. If it comes in from the sides, it's going to help keep that athletic field very dry. When we do an athletic field, we like to use it's a felt wrapped dimple board, and it's a 12-inch piece. I showed you a 6-inch piece the other day, and that stuff works really good. Every 5 yards across, there are fittings for that. It can be drained off, to a storm drain, a sump pump, whatever. The discharge is easy. But it does work well, and it keeps that field dry. More importantly, on the athletic field, it really is maintaining the soil. University of Michigan has a really great website that talks about turf management, and there's actually a degree turf management, but they have a really great website that talks about turf management and how that works. Strip drain, curtain drain. It's also called curtain drain because it's like a curtain. Water comes through it on the sides, on the top, floods up underneath into the system and is carried away. So I did have a comment. A guy named Chris, he made an interesting comment, and we're going to show you what he recommended. Again, I don't know, but we're going to make that video for you. What he recommended was using this as a grate for a catch basin. So I've got a catch basin over here. We have to use the saw. I'm going to use a jigsaw and just cut off the exact size of the catch basin, and we'll put it on the top. And of course, I do know water goes through here, and I'm going to show you that in a second, but I don't see any application for this. We're down here in Florida, and we get jobs, clear down into the Keys, down like Key Largo. If you dig down, the homes there, they're built on coral. And I've had customers say they won't do any type of foundation waterproofing unless we used Hydroblox. And I tell them, you've got to call somebody else because I don't think the product works. But what they're trying to say is that they think it's structural. Again, it's only 1 inch wide for a foundation drain. I believe that traditional French drain works much better. We call it footer tile because it sits on the footer. But I do think that the Easy Flow works really good. I've just showed you a whole bunch of stuff about that. French gravel perforated pipe wrapped in fabric, that works very well also. These are systems that are time proven. They last a long time. They don't last forever, but they last a long time. How long? I don't know. Anyways, let's go ahead and start making a video about Hydroblox. So the way that Hydroblox lays in your trench, again, the way they advertise it is that you only have to dig a little trench. If you've ever tried to dig a little trench with that little spade shovel, we call it, I call it the spoon because it comes after our trencher. Very difficult to dig a little tiny trench. But Hydroblox lays in a trench this way. It does not lay this way. It lays this side up or that side up. And what it does is it butts together. So say about a foot that it butts together. Can you see that? Okay. The problem with this is that there's no coupling for this. I think I saw one online where they try to collect that water, but it's, again, I don't see that being much of a French drain. On the athletic field, like I said, I think that it might work pretty good because it's very strong this direction. It's like the piece of wood, you know, if you lay it flat, it can bend, but if you stand it up, you know, that's how you set up your joist, it can handle a whole lot more weight. So across the athletic field, might work pretty good. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut a piece of this and set it inside the catch basin and see if it'll fit as a grate. So let's do that right now. Okay, there's lots of catch basins. Remember I was just talking about NDS and ADS. ADS does, I don't think they make catch basins, but anyways, this is NDS, if you can see that. It's an NDS 9x9 catch basin, and it has, we have to take it apart. You've seen me do this many times. I have videos that show you how to do all of this. Let's pull these screws out. Then we pop off the top. Inside, there are these adapters, okay? A lot of people do put these adapters inside and lock them in. It really should go the other direction. They need to be on the outside. So if you dig a spot for the catch basin, make it a little bit bigger. If this is the end of the pipe, you know, this is the beginning of the line going that way. This side still needs to be out here. And they give you a cap to put on to the end of that, and it, whoops, and it snaps in place. There we go. So the dirt is what holds that together. You know, just pushes pressure against it. It won't come off, and it keeps dirt from coming into the side of the trench. But, so let's set this catch basin up, and you can see it has 4 nipples on it, and it's slotted, and there's slots on here. The way it goes together, you line it up, and you twist it. It only twists just a little bit, and it locks in place. Same thing on this side. A little twist, and it's in place. I usually put a couple of set screws inside on the sides of this just to make sure, because it's, you know, it is polyethylene. Again, you know what? This is HDPE, high density polyethylene, same material. Okay, so Chris wrote to me and asked, could we use this as the grate? I really don't see it being any real difference than this, but let's go ahead and see. I've never cut this before. I've got the jigsaw over here. So you'd have to have a reciprocating saw, or you might be able to cut it with a hacksaw. So the next test would be, can you cut it with a hacksaw? So I scored a good mark, and yeah, it looks like you can. Might take a bit. Pretty tough to do. I'm going to use the jigsaw. So a lot of work to make a grate that's going to sit inside of here and not be very secure. It's a little bit high, things like that. But it was a good idea that this guy had, Chris. He just commented, and I'm making a video about it. Let's see what it does. First, let's go ahead and put some water on here so you can see how well it does pass through. Let's do that next. Okay, you can see that water goes right through this thing. I mean, it does drain really well, kind of like the fabric. I can hear it building up inside. I'll show you here in a second. But yeah, it goes through. Let's look inside the catch basin. So you can see the water went right through. You see the water down in the bottom of the basin. So it does drain. It drains fairly well, actually. Whoops, get it on there. It does drain fairly well. Chris's thought was it would be used as a screen. Well, you know, I mean, it's pretty expensive stuff to use as a screen. I think that you'd be better off just putting a piece of the fabric underneath of the grate and just putting it down in place. And like I said, everything needs maintenance. It doesn't matter what it is. Sometime you're going to have to clean it out. I don't see this being a very good application for the product. So anyways, thanks Chris, thanks for the comment, and there's your video about will it work as a grate. Quick review. We had a comment about using Hydroblox as a filter and grate, and yes, it does work. Very costly material. Remember that a 7-foot piece of it is, I think it's $89. Let's just say it's $100 just for you to make a grate. And I think a better system is to use the original grate and just a piece of fabric. You set that fabric, you know, over the top, and you just go ahead and put your basin down. If you're that concerned about, and then you would trim this off, but if you're really that concerned about leaves getting in there, I think that's a much better way to go about that. They do make a lid, a grate that has this already built into it, but very inexpensive if you do it yourself. It's 99 cents, you know, but you have to buy some fabric, and it would work great. Again, all it's going to do is, you know, allow more sand and stuff to sit here. You kind of defeat the purpose of a catch basin. Remember, catch basin, think of what that means, the name. It's a basin that catches water. Here's the water level all the way across, and debris sits down in the bottom. So simple. Got your lid, your grate. When it gets full, which it really never does get full, but if it does, you simply pull off the grate, reach inside, and clean out the debris. People worry about, you know, does debris go down the line? Well, if you've got good fall to your discharge and it's a discharge to daylight, in other words, the line comes out, you know, to daylight, it's not to a gravel drain or a pop-up, debris will not sit in the line. It'll go all the way through. It's not a problem, even in corrugated pipe. It makes no difference. That water will drain. So that was a short video about Hydroblox. Again, I don't really see a great application for the product, but it was a fun to make video, and I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget about our premiere coming up either Friday night or Saturday midday. A first run video that we can all watch together. Chat is enabled, can answer some questions, all live kind of stuff. It's kind of like going to the movies, a first run movie, a premiere. So we all watch that together. Should be a lot of fun if you're available. It also gets posted immediately after, so if you miss the premiere, no big deal. But it's about NDS quick drain, and it's a piece of pipe that's underneath of a driveway. Remember how there's so much controversy about gravel, perforated pipe, fabric. Well, we're going to pull a piece of this pipe out that's been underground in a driveway for over 5 years. And yes, they've run heavy equipment, excavators, big trucks, dualies, vans, cars. Every day they run over this piece of pipe. And we're going to dig that up, cut it open, take a look, and see how well it actually held out. Hey, this is Chuck with Apple Drains, reminding you that if you believe you can do something, I guarantee you can do it. Have a great day. Hey, I apologize for the post-edit, but I need to give you one more piece of information. I did write to Hydroblox, right to the manufacturer, and ask them to send me a piece of their product, but instead they sent me a spec sheet designed for the railroad. That might give you the information right there. Remember I said I don't see an application for this, but that's because I'm thinking about yard drains, French drains, gravel drains, driveway drains, foundation drains. But in reality, I'm pretty sure that what they've done is they've created a product for the railroad, and it would work great. Everybody has walked the railroad tracks. You can see miles and miles of cross ties which hold up the rails which the train runs upon. That train is extremely heavy. Between the cross ties, for miles and miles and miles, you see gravel. That gravel is there to provide drainage for the cross ties. Without that, of course, the rails would start to sag and sink, and the trains couldn't run. Hydroblox is pretty strong material when it's set, like a joist. So it's possible that they're running that Hydroblock plank between each of those cross ties. Just like we were talking about the athletic field and having a strip drain every 5 yards as you go through. So I think that is a really great application. I do think that Hydroblox decided, hey, there's a market out there for the French drain, and they started to try to advertise it. But in my opinion, and probably most drainage people will tell you that there really isn't that great of an application for the French drain, yard drain, foundation drain, these type of systems around the house.